Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the new PvP legend, York the Greedy, aka Stump the Greedy, because, look, I shouldn't have summoned on the banner, but look, anything more than the discount was already too many, so, yeah, cool. But we got York. She does seem very interesting in PvP, obviously being a PvP legend, she's 20 cost, does see a very nice play on the int-driven and cerebral team. So she's got like a lot of different dimensions to her and can be ran in a multitude of different ways. Today we're focusing on the int team, primarily int cerebrally based, because the driven team right now is just, it's so set in not having a place for York to fit that she works better just on int and cerebral, like, if I'm being completely honest with you. And honestly, she works the best on cerebral because int kind of doesn't really have a place for her either. It's a weird position for York to be in, while she's not a bad unit whatsoever, she kind of struggles to find a way onto the teams that she should really be showcased on. So, int cerebral with like the Vegapunk characters, Atlas, Dr. Vegapunk, those types of units are probably going to be her best fit. Or just being thrown on the straight up cerebral team, that's definitely going to work out as well. But in hindsight, she'll probably work better on the driven team just because, like, overall, that's a better team. She is quite wonky in the sense that she buffs int, she buffs cerebral, and she buffs driven, all in different sort of parts of her passive. If you have 6 cerebral characters on the team, she does CD reduction with her special. But then if you have 6 driven characters on the team, she does a little bit of nerfing. Now, God forbid, if you can actually get a whole bunch of driven cerebral characters on the same team and get access to the 6 driven, 6 cerebral, which I definitely tried to do, but unfortunately, like, the only good cerebral driven characters besides York are actually the 5+ Lucci boys, as well as the 5+ Perona, which at the end of the day, you're running them as bench characters. The team then drastically suffers. You can't really find a way to get the 5 powerhouse characters for Blackbeard and what he needs. So the team is just, it definitely suffers a lot, and unfortunately doesn't really work out that well. In the future, if we get more driven cerebral characters like Black Marine Ulti, if they were like better, like, we could definitely try some fun stuff. But what York is doing as a defensive juggernaut for herself, because she's buffing obviously in driven and cerebral, which she definitely is actually pretty crazy. And I'm going to start off with this first clip. I went up against a slasher team, and this is what York can do at the back end of a fight. Her counters can just win you fights. So, like, on a defensive-based build, this is going to go absolutely crazy. She gives herself a crazy ton of defense. She has overtime healing. Her special has that provoke, then she does countering, and as you can see, you can kind of just tear through the lineups and just get an easy win with the single York left standing whilst she's just countering and taking down the rest of the opposition team. So, can do some fun stuff like that, but that's not a realistic scenario that you're going to see all the time. However, that doesn't mean that she's not a very, very good unit when you sort of throw her onto something like a cerebral-based build. Cerebral have a lot of very, very good units at their disposal. However, there is some clashes that can be a bit of a detriment to what York is trying to do. Yamato and Saul both have a provoke ability, and Saul has a counter-based ability as well. So when you're running them in the front lineup like we're doing in this particular team, it can be a little bit hit or miss with the RNG of the way the specials go. Ideally, you want like Yamato to go, you want Saul to go, and then you want York to put up her counter. Or basically when like York's counter's ending, you want Saul's to come up. So that way you've got a unit that's got the provoke up, got the countering ability, and it's doing some really fun stuff there. The provoke that Yamato gives is not essential. Like, she just really doesn't need it. I understand why it's there, because she kind of wants to die. But like, if you could just like remove it from Yamato, that'd be great. Having Yamato put up that provoke can remove it from characters like Saul and York, which are the characters that you really want to have these particular abilities. So it's a little bit annoying and a bit frustrating in that regard. But in saying that though, the 3 characters are all incredibly powerful and deserve to be thrown in on the team or put in the front lines. With this particular build, I decided to bring Atlas. We have the 5 int characters. We also have the 5 cerebral characters, so it works out quite nicely in the sense that we're getting all of the damage output that Atlas can provide. My Atlas is almost close to 152, so she's actually hitting fairly hard. I think she just gets absolutely like mopped by this Frankie unit here. I'm pretty certain she's the one that cops the damage to defense. Yeah, she just got absolutely mopped by Frankie, which is unfortunate because she was literally the next attacker in the turn, so that kind of sucks. But as you can see, Saul has his provoke up and his counter ability. Like, the counter ability of York is still there, and if like characters both try and attack Saul, it's going to go to York anyway. But obviously that ability to not have units sort of funnel in can be a little bit frustrating there too. Upside to losing Yamato right there is now that York's actually going to get her special back up. and we can get the provoke and counter off on that regard. Shanks is fantastic for cerebral teams. He works out really, really nicely. If I'm building out more of a cerebral-based build, this is probably what it would look like. Maybe taking on like Inazuma and then sort of making more of an int-based bench, having like S-Hawk in the back and Luffy in the back, is really just there to sort of clean up games if we end up going down the line. If you end up getting mopped early, like, those characters aren't going to do that much. But at the end of the day, you got mopped early, so like, there's really not that much you can do there. So Yamato's going to put up her provoke there. Now, this is where you're in a good situation, because now York is going to put up hers, provided she doesn't die. Yep, sweet. But Saul also has his special. So ideally, you'd really want you'd want Yamato to go before York. You'd want Saul to go before York. And this is kind of a position where you don't want to have that provoke ability. I think it... Yeah, sweet. It doesn't actually trigger. That's good. When Yamato dies, it doesn't trigger. Then you kind of at the back end of a fight is so crazy. So, as you can see, though, like, Cerebrals aren't exactly there with their power output. So having like a powerhouse like York is great, but the rest of the team doesn't really go along with her, and that's where I think Driven's probably going to be like her best team. Shooters have become fairly strong though with like Suru and stuff like that too, so like I don't want to discredit what that opposition team was actually doing, but the fact that we went that long into the fight kind of shows what the power of the team can actually look like. So taking on some of the challenge fights now, we're going to dive into the Suru fights. Now we're sort of, with this team, I'm sort of funneling into like the Vegapunk situation. We've got Old Man Vegapunk, we've got Bonnie on this particular team, and with this sort of build, I feel like this is the most secure when it comes to what York is trying to do, with a bunch of other characters that are also funneling into the Int Cerebral mindset. Bonnie's buffing Int, Yamato's buffing Int Cerebral, Int or Cerebral. Atlas is buffing Int and Cerebral, and then so is Old Man Vegapunk. So having this frontline security of all Int and Cerebral characters, where all passives are working in unison, I think is probably going to be the best sort of setup for her. Let me know if you guys know anything or think anything in the comment section below, because I'd love to try some more stuff out with York. And I do think over time, she's definitely going to be a character that ages really, really well. As the Driven team evolves and as Cerebral teams evolve and stuff like that, she's definitely going to be a staple moving into that, because she's going to be like your core defensive unit, right? She has that En Mazora feel to her. She has that Big Mom Katakuri sort of vibe. So downside is that she's not, in my opinion, she's not as good as those characters, but she still has that kind of echelon. Saul's another character that has that kind of like aura to him as well. So is this the one where I get absolutely mopped? I actually had to run this twice. I don't know, is this the one where I just get mopped? If it is, I'm just going to leave it in the video, because like this is just a showcase of like the unfortunate side of what Cerebral is, because they have like pieces to the puzzle, but they're just not working in terms of unison that can kind of take down some of the bigger teams. The upside to Cerebral is they actually make a really good defensive team, and over in Grand Party, when you have timeout to your advantage, all of the rollback that Bonnie gives, all the rollback that Vegapunk can give, and then having sort of the countering ability that York is doing, it definitely works out quite well in those later fights. So overall, she's a very good character. I'd love to see more Driven and Cerebral characters come out in the future to make her like the absolute monster that she is. Her passive, like, if you can get like Driven Cerebrals or like Driven Cerebral characters together, her passive is doing a lot. She's doing like level 6 to 2 stats for Int, and then level 6 to 2 stats for Cerebral, and level 6 to 2 stats for Driven. So she's giving a lot if you can actually get that. Oh, Alice just clean house there. Yeah, so she's doing a lot if you can actually buy into that. The problem is, there's like I keep saying, the characters just aren't there. However, we did take on the hardest challenge in the game, and this team actually had some pretty good success with it. Again, having the ability to sort of nerf the enemy, roll back their specials, hit them with 40% HP cuts, and do all that fun stuff, just works really, really well with these bigger, bulkier teams. We've sort of moved away from like a slasher meta that's moving just really, really fast, and now we're moving into like we have more HP stats, and super specials are now a thing, and all this sort of jazz too. So Int Cerebral can put up a pretty decent fight against some of these bigger teams. However, like I said, it's just still not on that echelons. But if you guys know anything, if you guys think anything, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys pulled York or did some summons, hopefully your summons went well. And let me know how they went down below too. this particular PvP challenge against Pizarro and Sancho Wolf is just absolutely terrorizing. This Kaido is like, he's level 150, Limit Break expanded, level Limit Break bazillion. He hits so hard. If you get hit by that Kaido in the last 50 seconds, it's basically over. You just have to kill him, like he just has to die. Old Man Vegapunk with that 40% HP cut is ridiculously strong against these bulkier teams because you're doing like, what, 8,000, 9,000 damage off rip. Then you get a 40% rollback as well, which is ridiculously strong too. So the disruption that this team has alongside the countering ability that that York is actually doing, it's really, really nice. Having Soul on the bench to kind of come in if York does get absolutely mopped. Yamato, the plan is to die, so you don't have to worry about her provoke too much. And as I mentioned before, this is kind of the best kind of balance that I could put together with York and the cerebrally sort of centric teams. Unfortunately, like, Int Powerhouse does seem to be more of a wave. Like, anything that uses Blackbeard is just going to be a little bit stronger in my opinion. That way you can bring, like, what, S-Hawk into the front. You have, like, Int Luffy in the front as well. Those are absolutely monster hitters. All do fantastic work too. So if you guys are an advocate of Cerebral, if you're an advocate of Int Cerebral, let me know in the comment section below. Or let me know what teams that this team would actually work really, really well against. For now, what I'm seeing is the bigger, the bulkier, the better they actually operate. However, it's still very RNG centric in the sense of Vegapunk needs to hit the right units. Like, if we didn't hit Kaido there, it was over. Like, it was proper over. York has to go after Saul, so that way your countering ability is sort of provoked into York, and that way you're sort of getting some healing back and doing all fun stuff there. Atlas kind of has to stay around, so she does stuff like this and just does bonkers damage. But being able to stay at these really low HP thresholds and be able to take down some of these massive powerhouse characters is actually really, really, really nice to see. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Getting the Yamato kills hilarious.